Originally named either Jehuti or Zehuti by the Pa-Tamarayat the Egyptians, Tehuti Thoth was given his better-known name by the Greeks. They linked him with their own god or theos deity, supreme being. Hermes, Greek. He becomes the son of Zeus and Maya, and Zeus was the son of Cronus and Rhea. None of this is true. They just took this Egyptian and tried to make him theirs and change his teachings. And this Hermes was considered to be the Greek theos deity, god supreme beings of wisdom, writing and invention to the Greeks. They get their word theos from the Egyptian supreme being Theris or Thuris, a goddess of women in childbirth, protectress of babies. This is the word used in your Bible, New Testament in the Greek for God. Tehuti was also the messenger and spokesman of the Netarot supreme beings as Tehuti, and finally a lunar Netar supreme being under the sun god Re-Ra. You can see the Greek word theos came from the hieroglyphic word Tehuti, or Thoth. The worship of Tehuti Thoth dates from the pre-dynastic period, which itself dates back before 10,500 years, as his standard appears on artifacts of this time, and his name Jehuti indicates that he originated in the Hedat Nomes, of Dihud in Lower Egypt. He is represented as a man with the head of an ibis bird, which is often crowned by the crescent moon. The baboon is also sacred to him, for in Kamenyu Thermopolis he merged with the local baboon Netar supreme being Hejver. According to the Semot funeral priests and the Wapat spiritual priests of Kamenyu Thermopolis, it was Tehuti Thoth in the form of an ibis who hatched, by the power of his voice alone, the world egg from which all creation issued. Other stories relate that in the chaos of Yaa-Nun he awoke from eons of slumber and, opening his mouth, issued the first sound Kuan. This original sound assumed form and became the first 8 beings, 4 Netarot gods, supreme beings and 4 Netartot goddesses, supreme beings, the Rashanot Ogdod, who represented the elemental forces that existed before the creation. The Big Bang was not a bang but rather a kuan which became the sound am, some say om, amun to aun nature, and of course min with the staff of life, the two-ball came. Thoth was the Greeks' renderance of the Egyptian hieroglyphic Tehuti, scribe of the Netarot and personification of divine intellect, thus patron of learning and literature as I said. He was wrongly equated with or as Hermes by the Greeks, who also was part Hyksos from a Japheth's son Javan, Genesis 10:2 of the Torah. The Hebrews prove that the Greek were also from the Hebrew by way of Noah's son Japheth whose son Javan was Ionian, which is Gracia, Greece, found in Strong's Greek and Hebrew lexicon number 320, Yavin. So the Hekakasut Hyksos were Hebrews and Greeks. Tehuti Thoth uttered the words commanded by Re-Ra that created the world, which was Kuan. The chief site of worship of Tehuti Thoth was the city called Kamenyu Thermopolis by the Greeks. Their Tehuti Thoth was called master of the city of 8, the Ogdod. This referred to the 4 pairs of primordial supreme beings called 1. Night, 2. Obscurity, 3. Secret, and 4. Eternity. These shadowy supreme beings are portrayed with the heads of frogs and serpents, that is they were in deeds and actions human reptilians. They symbolize the very first stage of growth, called creation as it emerged out of the mud formed by the union of heaven and earth, air, water and dirt. Tehuti Thoth is portrayed as an ibis-headed male figure or sometimes as all ibis. That is a man wearing the ibis bird mask. This is due to the ibis's reputation for devouring serpents and or because of its aquatic lunar habits and nature. Tehuti Thoth was intimately connected with a variety of lunar functions relating to cycles of time, measure and movement. As divine scribe, Tehuti Thoth is frequently encountered in judgment scenes recording the verdict returned by the balance, or in temple friezes recording the deeds of the rulers into eternity. Tehuti Thoth is the recorder who keeps the record of our deeds and thoughts, the Nebu Lord of divine words or words of power, the thrice great. From old Tama-Re, Egypt have come the fundamental teachings, which have so strongly influenced the philosophies of all races, nations, religions and peoples, for thousands of years. Egypt, the home of Pa-Merat the pyramids, Pa-Ruti the Sphinx, and Pa-Tekenyu the obelisk, was the birthplace of all hidden wisdom and mystic teachings. From secret doctrine all nations have borrowed. India, Sumeria, Persia, Chaldea, Media, China, Japan, Assyria, ancient Greece, Rome, America, Atlantis, and other ancient and modern countries partook liberally at the Feast of Right Knowledge, called then Nu-Wapu with the teachings called Ha-Ka, which the grand hierophants and masters of the land of Re-Ra, the god of life and light, the sun, so freely provided for those who came prepared to partake of the great store of mystic and occult lore which the master minds of that ancient land had received from beings from beyond this planet Earth called the heavens. The Netarot called also the Anunnaki, the Namas, the Elul, the gods who all came to earth except for the Elul, who remained spiritual beings, from afar off. They are the you, us, we, in your scriptures. In ancient Tama-Re, Egypt dwelt the great adepts and masters who have never been surpassed, and who have never been equaled. during the centuries that have taken their processional flight since the days of the great Tehuti. In Egypt was located the Great Lodge of Lodges of the Mystics, the Great Temple of Temples. At the doors of its temples entered the neophytes who afterward, as hierophants, adepts, and masters, traveled to the four corners of the earth, carrying with them the precious knowledge which they were ready, anxious, and willing to pass on to those who were ready to receive the same. All students of the truth recognize the debt that they owe to these venerable masters of that ancient land, Tama-Re, Egypt. But among these great masters of ancient Egypt there once dwelt one of whom masters hailed as the Master of Masters. This man, if man indeed he was, dwelt in Egypt in the earliest days. He was known by many names worldwide, but Tehuti was his name. He was the father of the teachings of Haka. All occults, mystics, secret orders, and magic comes from Haka, the founder of astrology, the discoverer of alchemy. The details of his life story is, he has no mother, no father, no beginning of days, nor end of days, owing to the lapse of the years, though several of the ancient countries disputed with each other in their claims to the honor of having furnished his birthplace. They are wrong. He was from the 8th planet Rizq, in the 19th galaxy of Yaa-Nun, and this was thousands of years ago. The date of his sojourn in Egypt, in that his last incarnation on this planet, is now known. It has been fixed at the early days of the oldest dynasties of Egypt and now in these days and times. He is with you again. As the years rolled by after his ascension from this physical plane of physical life he lived 120 years in the flesh. The Egyptians deified Haru Horus and knowing him to be of their own family of Netarot supreme beings under Thoth. Years after, the people of ancient Greece also made him one of their many gods, calling him Hermes, the god of wisdom. The Jews called him Melchizedek, the Muslims call him Al-Kidir or Nabi Kidir, known as a Karama. The Egyptians revered his memory for many centuries, yes, tens of centuries, calling him the scribe of the gods, when translated into English, and bestowing upon him, distinctively, his ancient title, Trismegistus, which means the thrice great, meaning he will incarnate into flesh 3 times etc. once in Genesis 14:18, twice in Hebrews 7:1, and third name in the Holy Tablets, chapter 2, tablet 2-4. In all the ancient lands, the name of Hermes Trismegistus was revered, the name being synonymous with the fount of wisdom. Even to this day, we use the term hermetic in the sense of secret, sealed so that nothing can escape, etc., and this by reason of the fact that the followers of Hermes at Uwais observed the principle of secrecy in their teachings. They did not believe in casting pearls before swine, but rather held to the teaching both of which maxims are familiar to readers of the monotheist scriptures, Torah, Gospel, Quran, but both of which had been used by the Egyptians for centuries before the Jewish, Muslim or Christian era. And this policy of careful dissemination of the truth has always characterized the Haka, even unto this present day. The Haka teachings are to be found in all lands, among all religions, but never identified with any particular country, nor with any particular religious sect. There are 720 degrees in 2 sections of 360 degrees physical, 360 degrees spiritual. Yet they say we hold in our possession 9 degrees only. 1 and 1 see the hidden secret. The true Tehuti teachings were found in Egypt of old and incarnated in the ancient Egyptian order today in the West, in the heart, head and hands of God in flesh, Adam Re, the first point of light. This is because of the warning of the ancient teachers against allowing the secret doctrine to become crystallized into a religious creed. The best kept secret is best kept sacred. The wisdom of this caution is apparent to all students with the statement, mum's the word. The ancient occultism of India and Persia degenerated, and was largely lost, owing to the fact that the teachers became priests, and so mixed theology and philosophy with the facts, the result being that the occultism of India and Persia has been gradually lost amidst the mass of religious superstitions, cults, faiths, beliefs, creeds and spirit gods. And these gods are in conflict with each other. So it was with ancient Sumer and Mayan. It was not so with the Tehuti teachings of old, kept protected few, now is available to you in the ancient Egyptian order. The Gnostics and early Christians even touched this. None was lost in time of Constantine, whose iron hand smothered Egyptian facts with the blanket of philosophy and theology, losing it in the Christian church, and later the Muslim mosques, that which was its very essence and spirit, and causing it to grope throughout several centuries before it found the way back to its ancient roots. The indications apparent to all careful observers in this 21st century being that the churches, mosques, are now struggling to get back to its ancient mystic teachings of Egypt, and the monks and their night orders, who were overthrown by a Muslim Sultan Mukmuk in the 14th century, who stole some information for the Sufi order of Turkey. But there were always a few loyal souls who kept alive the truth, tending it carefully, and not allowing its secrets to become destroyed by the children of light and chaos. And thanks to these staunch hearts, and fearless minds, we have the truth still with us. It is found in the teachings of the ancient Egyptian order. It has been passed along from master to student, from hierophant to initiate, from lip to ear. When it was written down at all, its meaning was veiled in terms of alchemy and astrology and secret symbolism, so that only those possessing the master key could read it aright. This was made necessary in order to avoid the persecutions of the theologians of the Middle Ages, who fought the secret doctrines with the light, fire and sword, stake, gibbet, cross and crescent. Even to this day there will be found but few reliable books on the teachings, although there are countless references to it in many books written on various phases to occultism. And yet, the Tehuti teaching is the only master key which will open all the doors of the occult teachings. In the early days, there was a compilation of certain basic Hakka doctrines, passed on from teacher to student, which was known as Pa-Sarn Hakumdum, the secret wisdom, the exact significance and meaning of the term having been the secret wisdom. This teaching, however, is known to many to whom it has descended, from mouth to ear, on and on throughout the centuries. Its precepts have never been totally written down, or printed. It was merely a collection of maxims, axioms, and precepts, which were non-understandable to outsiders and passed from word of mouth to ear, but which were readily understandable by students, after the axioms, maxims, and precepts had been explained and exemplified by the Hakka initiates to their neophytes. These teachings really constituted the basic principles of the art of Egyptian alchemy, which, contrary to the general belief, dealt in the mastery of mental forces, rather than material elements, the transmutation of one kind of mental vibrations into others, instead of the changing of one kind of metal into another. The legends of the philosopher's stone, which would turn base metal into gold, was an allegory relating to Tehuti's teaching, readily understood by all students of true Hakka. We invite our students of the ancient Egyptian order to examine into the Hakka teachings, as set forth in Pa-Sarn Hakumdum, the secret wisdom, and as explained by myself, incarnation of Tehuti, and my students of the teachings, who, while bearing the title of initiates, are still students at the feet of Tehuti, the supreme grand hierophant. In the words of Pa-Sarn Hakumdum, don't be deceived by the Greeks altering teaching, calling it the Kybalion, when it was not. Let's set the record straight. The Hakka doctrine of cause and effect of things, in its aspect of the law of attraction of things, will bring lips and ear together, pupil and book in company. The key is, keep your third eye on things. See through them, and you will see the real physical world of existence, and the ethereal world of existence. Your first test is to touch yourself, the first degree of reality. The 9 Tehuti doctrines, upon which the entire Tehuti teaching is based, are as follows. 1. The doctrine of mental. 2. The doctrine of correspondence. 3. The doctrine of vibration. 4. The doctrine of polarity. 5. The doctrine of rhythm. 6. The doctrine of cause and effect. 7. The doctrine of gender. 8. The doctrine of growth. And 9. The doctrine of breathing. Mine your mind for the jewels of your soul. All is mental and each has a mind. Pa-Temptar the All is the reality underlying all the outward and inward manifestations and appearances, seen and unseen, which we know under the terms of existence, the material existence, the ethereal existence, the phenomena of life, matter, energy, ether, and, in short, all that is apparent to our material senses. One sense, subdivided into many as Ka spirit, Ba soul, Kat body, which in itself is knowable and definable, but which may be considered and thought of as a universal, infinite, living mind in Pa-Temptar the All. The threefold you. You have touched your Kat, felt it through your Ka and accepted the way it felt with your Ba. Katkaba, see, hear, taste, smell and feel are all in Ka. Knowing this is in Ka and being able to appreciate it as Ba. All these are but touch. All is, I am. It also explains that all the phenomenal world or universe is simply a mental creation in Pa-Temptar, the All, subject to the laws of created things if physical, and that the universe, as a whole, and in its parts or units, has its existence in the mind of Pa-Temptar the All, as does all, in which mind we live and move and have our being, persons, places and things, I, you, they. This doctrine, by establishing the physical and ethereal mental nature of all things and their physical part in the universe, easily explains all of the varied mental and psychic phenomena that occupy such a large portion of the public attention, and which, without such explanation, you end up with blind faith, false hopes and beliefs in spookisms, chasing a ghost god to an unknown and unproven place to receive gifts you are not worthy. No matter how good you pretend to be, just so you wouldn't get burnt in an eternal fire hell. So you made a deal with your god. All which is non-understandable and defies scientific realities. An overstanding of this great Egyptian doctrine of mental in relation to mind. Each individual has a mind, which is fed from the same mental reservoir, which enables each individual to readily grasp the laws of the mental, and to apply the same his or her well-being and advancement. That's being in touch with a real God. The ancient Egyptian order student is enabled to apply intelligently and outintelligently the great mental and physical laws, instead of using them in a haphazard manner as religions have. With the Ankh, master key in his possession, the student may unlock the many doors of the mental and psychic temple of right knowledge, right wisdom and the right understanding, and enter the same freely, using the God mind you have or the mind of mental, which is God. This explains the true nature of energy, power, matter, existence, and why and how all these are subordinate to the mastery of mind. And that each mind is a slave to mental, the force of ether, which controls the action of matter. One of the old Tehuti masters wrote, long ages ago, he or she realizes that all is. And these words are as true for all time. Without this Ankh master key, mastery is impossible, and the student knocks in vain at the many doors of the temple, and is met by the false teacher of ghosts, spooks, fictions, beliefs, myths, given false hopes. No facts, no truth, just lie after lie. The light is the devil's tool. Darkness is the home of God, peace, tranquility, and bliss. Find your way back to black.